Hey, welcome back, all of our listeners to Dim Boys Watch Footy. We are excited to bring an amazing guest with this filmmaker, connoisseur for the finer things in life. We got Mav, the filmmaker, over here with us. How's it going today?
Hello, guys. Morning. Pleasure to be here. It's going good, and thank you for the opportunity. It's good to be here.
Oh, for sure. No, it's been really awesome just like watching your work on IG, being able to see some of the work that you're doing with both Arsenal as well as the Lionesses of England. It's been really great to just be able to see this and then now actually having you on the show. So kind of want to dive right in. How did you really start supporting Arsenal? When did you get your first match with them?
So it was 10 years old, I believe. So 19 years of support of this club. I like to say 19 years I've survived the club because being an Arsenal fan, you're me an Arsenal fan, some of the most loyal people on the planet because there's a lot of pain more than there is joy.
Yeah.
I believe it was a 2-2 draw at the Emirates, Henri header equalizer. That was the first thing I remember seeing at like my family house. And it kind of like got me interested in, like, oh, what was that team? Da, 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 da. And I actually grew up in East London, even though Arsenal was a North London team. So by proximity, you should have been a West Ham fan. But I had bigger aspirations for myself, I guess, in life. It just, I remember that moment, the Henri header, and it was when we just moved to the Emirates. Maybe forget the year, but I know it was 2-2 Man United at the Emirates, and Adebayor was there, Van Persie was there, Henri was still there, but again phased out. Yeah, that game was when I first got the interest into it, and then so I kind of grew up in that Wenger era, really, like most fans, born in '96, just when we had some of our greatest moments, and it's if I start talking about how much I love the club, I'll be here all day. But as for my work particularly, actually, I've never officially like been commissioned by Arsenal yet, which people are shocked to hear because they see the work and they see the level of it, and I appreciate the praise. But a lot of it was just my own spare time, and I just did it, like I mentioned to you guys, where I had a lot of free time in my hands, and I wanted to come at these promos or mini commercials, whatever you want to call them, in a different way of kind of like highlighting the people on the ground, highlighting the fans. I think there's a lot of football promos and football commercial and work out there that highlights kind of the athlete or the higher ends, the celebrities, the influencers. My bag is more of like, here's the club, here's the person, and that why in the middle, but why someone supports this club. That's why I do my best work of like, why does someone from Bordeaux, France, like Morgan, or someone from London, or someone from Brooklyn, or someone from Kazakhstan, what is that why that makes them support a club in North London? What is that inciting like motivation? And I think that's what a story is. And I'm all good with the athletes, I'm all good with like the celebrities and influencers, but in my opinion, that's not new. And I think we can all agree, without the people on the ground, without the working class people, these clubs don't exist. We pay the merch, we pay for the ticket prices, we pay the season tickets, money, 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 and so much more. And if I can highlight that really cool story aspect while also paying homage to really the working class fan, the mom, the dads, the parents, the kids, the adults who fork over the money, who don't have that much, I think it's a win-win. So that's kind of my bag, really, just kind of highlighting these massive entities that are football clubs, but kind of showing that at their heart and at their core, it's the people that make them run and make them function, and to never lose sight of that.
No, I mean that is a very loaded answer. I mean, I'm very thankful that we got all of that because just understanding the process there as the why, that's probably the most important part. Like, I'm an Arsenal fan, became a supporter back in 2002, 2003. I actually got to see some glory before it's just been kind of clean up. So understanding some of the fans that we've been able to meet worldwide, I got to meet Wajib essentially through football, going to
Yeah.
some bars and New York. And so, yeah, understanding the why is probably the mystery that just brings us all together. Kind of want to let the other gents of the team just be able to jump in here. But no, I completely agree with you there.
Well, glad to know I'm the oldest Arsenal fan here. That makes that ages me. But Denzel, you're right. It's all about the community. I think at the end of the day, it's really about how do we foster this community because we're the ones who have to take the pain in and out every season, for our whole lives, unless you're some type of weirdo that chooses to, jump ship and move to another team. I mean, actually, yesterday I was just reading the articles and speaking of community, one of our legends from the more recent days, Santi Cazorla, just won and got promoted from Real Oviedo, just got promoted last year or to the first division of La Liga, and that's all about the community, right? There's a perfect example of a team that went literally down to the dumps, to the fourth tier of Spanish football, and now look at them. And this man is 40 now, Arsenal legend, who's just brought the team back, and he just said, that was a lasting, greatest game ever, and he played such amazing games for us. So seeing that yesterday made me so happy because again the whole community came out together. I can't even imagine what it would be like to be down there and to watch him and the whole town come together for this momentous moment for them. So again, yeah, all about that community.
Amazing. Yeah.
I actually my one question for you, because Eric already asked half of it, is did you ever play
football? I still do, mate. Still do. Come on. Yeah.
I mean, like properly. What's your position? Come on now. You're number 9. You're looking like a number 9.
No. I always get that, but I like playing as an 8. I can't lie, or like a 6, like either like the Rice, kind of like party position. I love being in the midfield. You lose the most weight for one, but then 2 also is very physically demanding because you're basically going box to box all the time. But yeah, where I'm in like East London right now, London in general is just football crazy. It's why I love this city. We're not perfect, and we'll get onto that. We've got plenty of issues in this city. But one thing about us is that we're very, very physically fit. People always going running, tennis, badminton. And the area I live next to, London Fields, which I know some of you have been to, it's the epicenter. The people playing cricket, broad daylight, like people always do something cool here. And I think we're a very, very, very in shape city. So I think kind of helps the whole like football culture as well. So, yeah.
Hopefully no pickleball.
No, I don't even know what that is, man. I don't even know what that is. I've heard of it, but I've never played that. You never catch me playing that.
Just running to I think part of that question and one that comes from the other question I was just thinking about is your community and being in London, obviously being an Arsenal holders. Do you have that? Do you have like a lot of collaboration with other creators in that Arsenal space? I mean, like I'm not talking about Coops, I'm talking about a whole bunch of dudes. You guys, communicate, you talk about content, you kind of work together, collab. I know, like obviously, from Robbie to all the guys over there that we all follow. Do you work much with them?
Yeah, well, as I mentioned to the guys last week, I'm a firm believer in nuance, in that 2 things can be true in life. And I think nuance is the key of life. And in that regard to that question, 2 things are true. Are there so many content creators in London? Yeah. Man, it's like an Arsenal universe here. Honestly, it's this many dudes count, and every day there's a new one. That's true. But do all of them have that collaborative, let's do it together community mindset? No, I wish it was. And I'd love to hear how it is in Brooklyn. I just had a good friend of mine who is a fellow content creator, Cloud REM. She's from Australia, lives in London. She has like her own custom clothing fashion brand. She went to New York last week, and she was like, I was there for about a week and I just felt so inspired. Everyone's kind of like hustling and grinding. I don't think she went to Brooklyn, unfortunately, but I would know she was like central Manhattan kind of area. She was like, I know you roll your eyes. I didn't go, it was her. And she just said that, from what I said, it's dirtier than it looks, for one. And then 2, also, people are just kind of like grinding. They're always going somewhere and doing something. And there could be like a little like soullessness in their eyes, she said, as well. People
it's just tired,
like,
being tired.
Yeah. From a creative standpoint, like everyone is working on something. And for her, working her own fashion line and her own clothing brand, it was so inspiring. And then coming back to like Hackney, London, where we live, it wasn't hard, but seeing how, like, I think in London creatively, people aren't as like, hey, let's all pally up and get it all done together. There are people like that, but it's few and far between in my experience. She's definitely one of the really cool ones who's down for that. But yeah, there's so many content creators here, but it's not as like, in my opinion, it's not as like, hey, let's all band together. There can be a lot of cliques and politics, which I think is ridiculous in my opinion, because I think, reach one, teach one, and we're all on the same boat together. And as I like to say, if you go alone, you go fast, but if you go together, you go far. And I've definitely seen that in my line of work. And I always try to outreach and help others, whether it comes back or not, because we're all in the same boat. There's things that people can do that I can't. There's things that I can do that others can't. And I think we all help each other. Like, even look at this. And that's why I love Americans, because you guys are very like, whether you like it or not. And Londoners, I love my city. I'm Londonese. One thing I really wish we had more was that communal aspect. And we do, but it could be so much better compared to you guys. But is it like that in stateside, or have I got it wrong, or what would you say?
No, I mean, like you said, it's a lot of grinding and people see it, but you're able to find people that can kind of form your tribe, and it comes organically a lot of the time. Like a meeting TC through Waj, like, and then this friendship and then this bond has kind of gotten stronger over the years. But then as well, like some of the other people that I've met within the industry have been able to give back as well. They've had plenty of guests on that have lived in New York from different parts of like the spectrum of soccer. So it's, especially within the States, you have the business side, you have the community side. I'm very much about the youth growth side. I'm really about like youth soccer within the US. That structure needs a lot of work, a lot of love. So just being able to kind of form in different spaces like that, it really does bring a lot of joy to see that community aspect comes out. But like you said, it is a lot of people within this world. And the US, because we are so spread out, it sometimes can get convoluted. But you just kind of have to fight through that noise and then figure it out for yourself. I mean, that's the best part of being in New York. You have to grind it out, you know?
Yeah. And if you don't, you can move to New Jersey.
I want to switch gears really quickly because I think we got real deep real quick. So, Math, gotta understand, we spoke about this last week. You were talking about how WWE over there is kind of like how footy is over here. Now, I want to see like how you were thinking so far about the way that the wrestling direction is going now. John Cena is kind of
wow.
just going through some craziness. We just saw he did his big pipe bomb. Like, I want to see how that storyline is kind of messing with you right now, and then we can kind of dive a little bit deeper into where I'm trying to push this at.
No, I didn't know that was coming, man. That's a good question. Because that pipe bomb was elite. I love that. I don't know if you're the same, but I go with phases with WWE. Sometimes I'm like, I'm just gonna watch the highlights on YouTube phase, and that's it. Sometimes I'll sit down and carve out 2 hours of my day to watch it. And even sometimes the matches, I just like speed, get to the last 5 minutes. Okay, cool. Who won on a weekly show? A pay-per-view, I'll give it, like, I'll watch it properly. But like the weekly shows, the Raws, the SmackDowns, and I'm a SmackDown kid. I grew up on Guerrero, Angle, Edge, Big Show.
My guy.
That was like 2006 SmackDown. That was my bag. Like Saturday morning, we had a show called WWE Evolution here in the UK, which kind of was like a recap show. And that was, that SmackDown with the fist, that was my era as a kid growing up. I'm blue brand till I die. But yeah, I decided just to watch the full episode this week. I had no idea what was going on, if Cena be there, whatever. And seeing that pipe bomb unexpectedly, because if I had seen that on YouTube, so, oh, it's a pipe bomb, let me click on it, versus like just seeing it organically, oh, he's still there. Oh, we have 10 minutes left on this. What's all the time for? That was pretty incredible. And I just wish, probably same to you, this kind of like momentum was there from the jump, because the heel run has felt kind of like stop and then start, and then one good thing, then one bad thing, and this kind of like, did this need to happen? And without getting into all like The Rock's absence and the storylines, it's just, like we've talked about for years, John Cena going heel and going bad. And I think that pipe bomb was the first time it's like, okay, this is what we've been waiting for so long. Like this should have been around at Mania season or even after, you know? And it's the only thing is, why is it happening at Night of Champions? But I won't get into that.
Yeah, the whole Saudi angle, especially coming up with CM, like it is a very interesting thing. But I brought this up because you're talking about a stop-start storyline. Now, one thing that I know that you are holding very near and dear to your heart is how we are pushing storylines within the women's game. So how could you kind of equate like what's going on over with the WWE, how they're trying to push these different stories, and how we can kind of continue to accelerate like the women's storylines over in the UK?
Yeah, well, I think it's a twofold thing. I think on one hand, we can have our own initiatives as content creators and as people, but at the end of the day, the big companies and the TV publishers and the media companies who put out the content and record the shows or at the matches, they have responsibility too. I think even more so, because one thing about when I make my Arsenal promo videos, it's easy to find like footage of like the men's team online, and to find like good high quality footage, right? Finding footage to edit women's content is so difficult. And I was like, oh yeah, until I tried to do it myself, and I was like, whoa, there's actually not that much. There's like very, very few slow-mo action shots. Even when they score a goal, there's not like when the Arsenal score a goal, there's like different angles, slow-mo, black and white, like 4K cameras. Like you can find stuff that their social media, they post like multiple cool angles. The women's one, you get like the TV standard broadcast one, and you see like the scoreboard in the corner. And I'm like, so even if I want to set aside time and make a really cool like edit or promo for like the women's game, it won't be as good because I haven't got the same of my resources. And then I'm seeing, so these TV companies and publishers who actually broadcast the game aren't putting as much effort into highlighting it in a core dynamic way. And it all paves in. That's what I'm saying. It's a united effort because I see a lot of content creators here who do a lot of great work for women's game. Pitchside News, 51, quite a lot. Yazzie, like there's so many people who do a lot of great work, but it's very, very hard when the resources aren't there. And the marketing that the women's game gets is very, very standard and basic. It's very standard and basic. It's kind of like saying, I want to make a great cake, but the ingredients are like bottom tier, really cheap oil, really bad flour. It's like you can make the best cake you want, but if the ingredients you're given are low quality, you're kind of handcuffed, you know? So yes, we can do the best we can, but also those in those high positions of power, the Skies, the BTs, the WSLs, I think they have to have more of a responsibility to broadcast it in the most dynamic way possible. The same way when the main games happen, you get like multiple angles and really cool shots. The women's game doesn't get that. They get one standard broadcast, maybe a social media clip, and that's it, you know? And I think that really has to change, to be honest.
Sure. No.
So Mav, you made an awesome video. I think it was in March called Woman to Woman. You made a series. I think it was 2 videos.
Yeah.
Which I just thought were absolutely brilliant. And, you know, kudos to you for making those ones. How was that making that content, focusing on women and the women's game, and also the ladies that you brought in from your community as well? How was that received? And how did you feel making that one?
Yeah, it was probably emotionally the most challenging thing I've done so far since I've been doing content creation. And that may sound weird to say, but it's because with the Arsenal stuff, I know it's always going to be well received. I know it because it's Arsenal, and all my fan base is Arsenal fans or just football fans. With the women's game, and this is another thing I was going to mention, I feel like with the women's game, the men's game has so many problems, but I think with the men's game, we talk about them and it's at the surface. With the women's game, I think there's like this unspoken, don't talk about the issues, go keep it hush hush. And it's like, but there's racism in the women's game. There's misogyny in the women's game. There's bigotry in the women's game. There's a lot of issues in the women's game. But I've noticed a lot of people don't talk about it, and a lot of content creators kind of like shy away. Why they do, I don't know. I have my theories, losing media access, media pass, but it's just like, if we can't use the art we make to say something at least once, then what are we really doing here? If we're all just saying the same thing, the same way, in the same format, you're just like everyone else. And that's great. But I think the privilege that we have to make content, I think we have responsibility to our audiences to not only make cool stuff, but also make stuff that hits people emotionally and makes an impact on them. You know, you're never gonna make an impact on someone if you just do the same thing as everyone else. You're just in the same box. You know, and there's a beauty to that to stand out, you have to be brave. So with me doing that trilogy was kind of like highlighting the women's game, but also talking about the issues I see in it. A clear one, a lack of diversity. I think that's still there. I love my club, Arsenal. And that first one was kind of, it was very, I talked to a lot of friends of mine before I did it, and I made a decision to do it and say that, hey, look, I support Arsenal. I love the Arsenal team, men's and women's, but the women's team hasn't got a single one of color, and it's 2025. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing for them. That's embarrassing for us as fans. And I knew in my heart of hearts, there are people who are going to take that the wrong way. If you look at the first 3 seconds, I say, hey, this is not intended as an attack. This is not intended as on the staff or the players. This is intended as a message to the decision makers that we need change here. If you can say you want change or actually be about change. Saying it is easy, but actually implementing it, that's what I'm talking about. And we can't, as Arsenal, London, melting pot, multicultural football club of fans from all over the world of different races and genders, have a women's team that only looks one way. That's embarrassing in the 21st century. And I have seen players in that women's team come out and say the exact same thing as me. But I knew when I said it, I was like, am I going to get hate? Am I going to get this and that? I got 1 or 2 comments that's like, oh, well, we have girls from different countries. It's diverse enough. And I'm like, yeah, but you look, yeah. There was one that was like, oh, well, this diversity nonsense. There's girls from different countries there. It's diverse enough. And I'm like, but they're all white and blonde and brunette. And it's 2025. There's young girls of color who go to those games, and there's not one girl they see there that they can look to and see themselves in that. You can't be what you can't see, as my mother always says. And it was a big relief to me. When I supported Arsenal, I saw Henri, Adebayor, Vieira, take your pick. So many that look like me. That makes a difference. No, I'm a guy, right? but I can understand and relate to women. When women's football teams means a lot to them because they can see themselves there. You can't be what you can't see. So if you can understand the importance of being a woman and seeing women's football teams, if you can understand being a man and seeing men that look like you in a team, why can you understand being a woman of color, seeing a successful football player as a woman of color succeeding, and how important that could be to those young kids? They can, but they just don't want to,
Yeah.
and that's okay. But I have responsibility, I believe, not just as a content creator, but as a filmmaker, to make cool shit, but cool shit that means something. I
No.
think it's
Yeah.
it's all cool to do stuff that everyone else is saying, or to play it safe, or to make the I don't know, the establishment like you. But as I've told you guys multiple times, if I never get to work with like the brands or the companies, but the people love me, and I've helped to push the culture and for the love of the game, and I've had multiple people who were young take filmmaking and content creation because they saw my work, that is 10 times more important to me and more powerful than getting a pat on the back from some corporation for staying in line and saying the right thing. No one will give a damn how many media passes you got. No one give a damn about how many red seats or executive seats you got to sit in, because that serves me and only me. That doesn't help anyone else. That just serves my own ego. What they
Yeah.
will care about is, Denzel, when you were here, how did you make me feel? How did your work impact me? And what did it make me think about myself? And what things did you say at your own detriment to know that it would help others? I knew when I put that out there, there'd be some people and some companies be like, I never told you this, right? But I had an email for someone asked me to do like some content creation for them. It was like a company. The video, the part one of that trilogy came out. The very next day I reached out again and they're like, oh, sorry, we can't do it anymore, but we'll be in touch soon. I never got a reason. I'm not saying this because of that, but it was very coincidental. I'm like, okay, fine. And guys, if I could go back and do it all over again, because I had multiple people reach out to me privately saying, thank you for saying that. Thank you for doing that. And on one hand, I'm like, why is it on me to say it? If you see it too, you have eyes, you have ears too. But on the other hand, I appreciate it. Like I said, I have no interest in being the corporate champ, very much interest in being remembered as the people's champ. And you only do that when you do stuff in mind for the people, not just for your own benefit, your own ego, and your own career advancement. I think all that stuff will come eventually, but make shit that matters, man. Make shit that matters.
Yeah.
I think the world needs that now more than ever, I think.
For
So, yeah.
sure. There's a lot going on. And being able to have your own platform, being able to say the things that you want to say, be able to show the things that you want to show, it's very important. And like, I think you even said it when we connected on the last front, like, even if your stuff is small, someone's watching it, someone's being
seeing
able
it.
to consume it.
And I gotta ask before we move on too. There was one, I think it was the first episode that you did of the trilogy, and you had the mother and daughter, and the mom was telling her daughter, I am strong and all that.
Yeah.
Who were they? Because they got me.
They're incredible. Yeah.
You were pulling at the heartstrings right there, my guy.
Yeah, man. Hey, filmmaker, man. Told me that. I got the degree to prove it, man. I studied, brother. I studied. I went to uni. I got my degree. Yes, shout out to Babsy Skinner and Nyla Rose. Babsy Skinner is her mother. She actually plays for women's team herself, but she's the captain, the mother, and the daughter. She's a goalie. She actually supports Tottenham. Young little girl, but we're trying to convert her. She's still young this time.
Time.
Fine, she can be saved. But no, Babsy and Nyla, they're so sweet and so kind. But honestly, that shot of them standing in front of like my front gate with like Babsy holding her, and just like she's wearing an England shirt and Nyla's wearing like the away green Arsenal shirt, that black and white shot, that's one of my favorite shots I've ever shot in my life. It just hits you. You have no idea about the context. It just like hits you. And I think, like I like to do my work, it grounds it. You may not care about Arsenal, you may not care about England football, you may not care about football in general, but we all know what it's like to be like a mother or family or a daughter. You take these lofty things, football, these entities, and you ground it in a very human experience. We may not care about, oh, well, diversity, but seeing a mother tell her young daughter, I am strong, I'm this, words of affirmation, speaking that life into her. We've all been there, or we all will be there, especially as, fathers to be or current fathers. And I always like to ground the work in something humane and that everyday people go through. So, yeah.
No, that's cool. I want to stay on just for one more. If you were the head of Arsenal's women's club right now, let's say commercial director as well as player director, what would be the first two things that you would do if you had that job in 2025?
I'd give Katie McCabe a high five, first of all. She's hilarious.
Definitely.
No, she's G. I'm gonna bump into her one day. I'm affirming it. Me and Katie gonna have a chat one day because she's absolute legend. You know what? I would congratulate all the girls for the hard work they've done, particularly Renee coming in on such a short amount of time. But I would do the best I can to integrate the fans more. And this isn't just an Arsenal women's thing. This is an Arsenal thing. Like, include the fans more. Not just when you have merch to sell, not just when you have season ticket price renewal date comes up. Include the fans all year round, because these working class men and women and children and young adults, they are the ones who make that club function. They've done that since 1886 and they will do that to their final days. Please do not forget that. And I mean that in like match day stuff, commercials, fans, include them. And to be honest with you, they are doing it more so. I don't want to say it's the content creators doing it, but I think we did motivate them to do it. So we'll take that. But yeah, integrate the fans more. I'd say also the TIFOs. Jesus Christ, work on the TIFOs because
Yeah. Yes.
man, that Ashburn army were right there. But that goes to my first point. Work with the fans. Don't work against them. Work with them. You know, they all mean well. You may not always like that the fans criticize certain things, but that criticism and that those rants, people only rant and criticize because they care. Anger is an emotion. Frustration is an emotion. You should be worried when people don't care anymore and they're just quiet. Like, oh, I don't care if you win or lose. That's when you should be worried. Not when people are going out of their time to make videos about, hey, please, can you give more women of color in the women's team? Because I want to have a daughter one day and I want to take her to be an Arsenal fan, but I can't in my good conscience take her to an Arsenal women's game right now and know that there's no one there that looks like her. She won't tell me that, but I'll see you on her face. I'll see you on her face. So just so I don't have to go take her to Stamford Bridge and Chelsea women, can you please get back together? Please. And the thing is, I've said it, players in that team have said it. This isn't a new thing I'm saying. I'm just the first one to come out and speak directly. So yeah, it all comes from a place of love. Because if I didn't care, I would say, don't care. I don't like the club anyway. But because I care, and because we all care. And then yeah, I think it's just continue to do that, and the women's game will grow. But as I say, you gotta let it grow for its own thing. It will never be the men's game. You don't want it to be the men's game. Make the women's game the women's game and make that the best version of it it can. Have the characters, storylines. We need the Katie McCabe's. We need the Alessia Russos. We need, you know, the Black Stenises, the Chants, the shithousery. We need that because men's football, we don't watch just because it's men playing football. We watch it because of the storylines, the banter, the bragging rights. That's all that extra emotion is what makes people pay exorbitant amounts of money to invest in it, because it's the tribalism and it's that human spirit and that human desire to be part of something that makes us all come together. So I think women's game, keep doing what you're doing, but don't come from an angle of like, support us because we're girls. No, support us because we're fucking cool and we're good at what we do. That Champions League celebration we had, you know, Katie being drunk for 20 minutes, that one clip of her being drunk was self-promotion with the women's game in itself. Because it's like, I could not give a damn about women's football, but I'm like, who's Katie McCabe? That goes hilarious. Who's that? Oh, Arsenal women. Oh, their games are actually quite affordable to go to. Oh, let's go to this next season. You know, people fall in love with characters and storylines, you know, and I think, you know, motion creates emotion. So I think I hear the whole support women's game, but like I said, it's a very short ceiling to support because we're girls. Yeah, great. But if you want to be on like a bigger scale than just an exhibition, give characters, give storylines, give us a reason why we should care beyond that, you know, I'd say.
I do want to push on to what your thoughts are going to be for this season coming up. I do know Arsenal men's is something that, we've had the last couple of years where it's just been...
We're doing great.
It's been great. It's been great. It's been ups and downs, but at the same time, as Arsenal fans that are realistic, we haven't gotten to the promised land. So kind of want to understand.
So let's get my charger. Sorry.
You're good. Yeah, I just want to understand, what are your thoughts of the upcoming season?
I really want this to work, man. I really want this to work. Let's be honest. It has to be one of the big ones. It has to be. I can't speak for every Arsenal fan, but I know on good record, a lot of them feel the same way as me when I say I haven't waited 6 years into this project for an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup. No slight on those cups. A trophy's a trophy, great. But to go through what we've gone through, to wait as long as we waited, and to have the close calls and the heartbreaks that we've endured, I've not gone through all of that for an FA Cup or a Carabao Cup. I've gone through all of that to win a Premier League title. I've gone through all of that to win the Champions League. That's why I sit on it. And I think this team deserves a Champions League. This team deserves a Premier League. We sure did. Maybe not this past season, but the season where Rice was there for the first time, we had Timber. we're 2 points off winning it. That should have been us.
That
You're
should
one
have
win
been
away.
us.
That should have been us. Should have been us this season too if it weren't for the injuries. But then again, injuries, okay, cool. Injuries are part of the game. Why isn't there depth in the squad? So you can blame injuries and this and that, but also the transfer window's open to everyone, Arsenal. You can buy players in, you know? And we did buy players, but I don't think we got players that helped us move the needle. So closer. Yeah, it has to be one of the big ones, not just because I think a lot of time has gone into this and a lot of money's gone into this team, but I think also the fans deserve the big one. Those players deserve the big one. The staff, the manager, everyone at that club and part of this club in every country, we deserve one of the big
Denzel,
ones.
quick question.
Do
You think that Arsenal's
so much?
some of
I think that'd be
Arsenal's
the
last
fairy
6
tale
years
ending
might
it
be
deserves, to be
slightly
honest.
psychological?
For
You have a
sure.
few teams that, Jesus!
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Okay. All right.
That's the universal phrase.
We'll just agree.
I was expecting an Arsenal joke there, so I'm glad it got caught off a bit.
Well, with that, I was actually going to say last season, to your point, was arguably, it was one of the best seasons we've had in a minute for both the men and the women, right? Obviously, the men finished an amazing season with a lot of highs and a lot of peaks, a lot of valleys. Some of the best plays being, you know, the revenge against Man City, obviously Real Madrid, and then so many other plays. But for the ladies, it was lifting the Champions League trophy in Portugal. But I mean, what have been some of your favorite moments from what were some of your favorite moments from last season from Arsenal? Both sides.
At the North London Derby in January this year, I believe that the context was if we won, we'd close the gap to 2 points to Liverpool, or 2 or 4 points. And there was a march from the Ashburton Army. And because it was quite a big North London Derby, it was us closing the gap to go top of the table. And yeah, there was a march, me and my good friend Morgan, who's in quite a lot of my work, the French, as she knows, the French Arsenal fan.
Ah, yes, I know her.
Yeah, you know, she's an absolute legend. And I can't, if I start talking about how much I respect and how much she's like a little sister to me, I'll be here all day. There's a shot, it's on my work, where she's wearing like a balaclava and she puts like these black glasses on. And it's like in a sea of like all these Arsenal fans in a dark tunnel, flares going off. It was like peak football hooliganism in the most coolest way possible. And it was a moment that stuck with me forever, just on a fan and personal perspective. As a team, the Madrid game was just, I remember that being there in the Gunners pub, fantastic pub just behind the bar, the Emirates. Just, we were on cloud 9 for like the whole 2 weeks. And then we did it again in the Bernabeu, and it was like we were top of the world and we didn't even care about the league anymore. It was like, you know what, have that. Yeah. We'll take this one, you know? But yeah, the Madrid game and that whole section of the season was pretty special. Yeah.
We got TC back. Let him ask his question really quick.
Yeah, so my question is really about Arsenal's issues of the last years. Are they psychological? You know, the last hurdle, getting over that last hurdle that we've seen, because, you know, sometimes it's that just little bit of a push that you need. I mean, because look, let's be honest. We all know for the last 10 years, we knew come Christmas, we'd see what kind of Arsenal season was going to happen, you know, after Christmas. And then once you got Arteta, we thought that change had been made where you'd able to make that extra push post-Christmas season, post-Christmas into the new year. So my question is, we see some teams have a very much stumble at the same hurdle, often at the same point, whether it's the Ireland rugby team, South African cricket team, they're just unable to get past the quarterfinals, for instance, every tournament for the last 15 years. So they're starting to believe it's psychological, you know, and something that might be playing into some of the Arsenal players come squeaky bum time, as Sir Alex used to call it, that you need that extra push, and you just seem to be faltering the last 2 seasons where you're so close. And this time as well, look, PSG, great side, obviously, but the league, the second, it's almost like Gerrard's slip, so close. You know what I mean? And you just need that one push. Do you think there's any sort of resonance to that?
Absolutely. It's let's be honest, life is psychological warfare. You know, life itself, not just football. And these guys haven't won the big one together, or won a trophy, which is why I get really upset when I feel like the cups aren't respected. I know I just said I want to win the big one. I do. But I do feel that also sometimes the club recently hasn't prioritized winning a Carabao Cup or FA Cup as well, you know, or kind of like froze those games. Oh, well, let's focus on the big one. I'm like, okay, but the importance of winning a trophy as a group can't be understated enough. Like, even when I play football now, the boys in the park, I don't want to go, that walk home when you've lost versus when you won are 2 very different things. Your legs are a bit heavier when you've lost. You know, that winning feeling, I don't think you can overstate psychologically what that does for the human mind. And then you add in the cameras, the thousands, millions of fans, the media, all this stuff as well, that they see all of that, social media, they see all of that. It's very much psychological. But there too, I feel like the club has to then back and give those boys the necessary reinforcements that when injuries happen, which are part of the game, we can't use that as an excuse. I'm sorry, we're not broke. We're Arsenal Football Club, and we're a club that's been distinguished with trophies over the season. And I think sometimes you forget who we are. That we're Arsenal. We're Arsenal. Okay, we're not Real Madrid. We're not there, but we're on our way there. And I think we're at a tipping point right now where I don't want us to become the nearly men or the nearly team. And we're very, very close to becoming that, like you said. So I think it's very important this season. It has to be it, because what will happen then as well as a byproduct is then a lot of our big players start looking and thinking, okay, we've come second. Football is a very young and short-lived career. And a lot of these players, it's a team that they love, but also it's their career. And they have to think from a business standpoint as well. And as a career standpoint, they're not getting any younger. The Sakas and Salibas aren't getting any younger. So you have to think, okay, great, I want to win stuff. To be honest with you, this team deserves to win stuff. This year is touch and go. Why these things have happened? Yes, you could say injuries. The teams have been great, but it's not Man City's job to make us win a trophy. Man City football is a great sport. Someone's trying to beat you end of the day. You can't blame other teams with this and that. So we can make sure our own house is in order first, have quality depth in all positions, keep a Partey, Elizabeth Mendy, a Rice and Odegaard, have a midfield that has depth. So if injuries and suspensions happen, which they will, because it's football, we're prepared and we're ready for it. Not just an 11, but have a squad. And then, yes, we need to get over the hump. And the only way you get over it is through it. And we need to get that win. Yes, I want us to focus on every single trophy this season, even the goddamn Emirates Cup, every trophy we won. And that's how you get through it, man. It's a success barrier. It's a mental thing that human beings have. It's success barriers. The only way you get through it is showing your brain that it can be done. That's where mine is at.
Sure.
Yeah, we invested.
What are the predictions for that first match, Manchester United versus Arsenal?
Oh, it has to be a win. It has to be a win. I'm sorry, because every game is a final this season for Arsenal. Every game is a final, especially that first 6 games. What was it? Man United, then Leeds, then Liverpool away.
Yeah, we're definitely not starting on a light note.
But you know what? Good, because I thought to myself, this will force Arteta and the board to not play around the transfer of the season. We got to have that team ready to go pre-season. Even our pre-season games, we're playing Newcastle. I believe we're playing United as well. We're playing Tottenham. Okay, great. I want the strikers. I want everyone in July. By the time Emirates Cup rolls around in August, that team is there and they play together for a couple games already. I do not want a case where we still have business to do come Old Trafford, or like, we'll get it after Old Trafford. No, the league, what you do from day one is what you do in May. I genuinely believe that. And a lot of those draws with Brighton at the start of the season, or a draw here, a draw there, that came back to bite us again. And if we're really serious about it, we have to be on smoke this season. Take no prisoners, everything. So go to Old Trafford and win. Go to Anfield and win. Yes, if draws happen, cool, fine. But have the intention to go win these games. I remember we lost to PSG. No trophies. We had to go to Anfield, injuries, off the squad, our limbs hanging off the bone. And then 2, going down to 10 men. Liverpool still couldn't beat us. So imagine if we had a striker. We had a CDM as our 9 for the last part of the season. And we got to the semi-finals of the Champions League. Imagine if we got a Watkins or striker just for a year, just to have that final push. So I pray, to TC, to answer your question, I pray we just stop being enemies of our own success and we stop self-sabotaging. And Arsenal, for once, do it the easy way. Easy way. If you see a striker that has 30 goals and one that has 13 goals, get the 30-goal striker, please. If you get the 30, right? If you get the 30, and we'll get on. If you get the 30-goal striker, and if you get the depth and you keep a quality squad, this amazing thing happens called that it works out. Let's just do that. Let's help ourselves first. You know what? If we do all that we need to do and we still don't win it, at least we can turn around and say, you know what? We tried. We gave everything. If Arsenal bought players in January this season, and then we got injuries and we still didn't win it, you could say, okay, we tried, but we didn't even try. That's what hurts. Like, we didn't help ourselves.
I think especially football supporters, I think forget is I think that you hit the nail on the head is the depth of the squad. I hear way too many people sell this guy, get rid of this guy, and I'm like, and then you want to name like 11 people, and I know this because I play in a team. And if one of my guys who's like one of the great right backs or center backs is out, you know what it means is like shifting in someone else, and you're like, oh crap, I don't have. So for me, you need to have a squad of, I would say 23, but in all honesty, you want 23. You want kids who are in the practice field in those games that we don't get. And people forget about the games that happen every single day. The 5, the 7-a-sides, the 8-a-sides, with the kids, with everyone in there, with a squad of 36. You want that squad to be completely mix of young and old playing. And I think that's what I want from my team as well. I want a depth of squad. Looking at, yes, we want to clear out people we want to clear, but I'm like, I want people to be able to replace. You can remove that person, and someone of similar ilk or quality comes on, and you're not like, whoa. For instance, when Trent would go off, and I say this, no one knew. What's his name? Bradley. What's his name?
Connor Bradley.
Yeah, Connor Bradley. Until the first few games, and then we're like, wait a second. Doesn't matter if Trent goes, because we saw that this kid, and he's got the quality, and you kind of want that in all positions. So this is what I'm saying to everyone. I mean, I look at, for instance, not to go back to the greatest team that I know of, but looking at a team that we constantly the last few years sold or got rid of players who seem to have done incredibly better away from Old Trafford. It shows that they have the quality, but they're maybe just not on the right structures. And you want those players in your squad. I would rather have Scott McTominay and an Anthony playing like they are in the squad, maybe not even a Rashford, to be able to bring off the bench, okay, to change games. And any team would like to be able to have the firepower that you have, that some of the benches of the other teams have, like Man Cities and stuff, building proper squads. And I think that's part of it. So in the recruitment, great, get the best player for what we need, but it's about looking. I know we've been looking at projects, but it's looking at that line in that same position. Who's challenging that player? Who's teaching that player to learn more from his position? We've got a lot of young players. Our issues, they don't have players to learn from and to challenge them, because they are the ones who are doing that, for instance. So our younger generation, younger than Alejandro and the guys who are under 18 now, they are challenging Alejandro and those guys, for instance, for that position, but learning consistently and are going to be better than them because they're playing against them, and those are who they're learning from, whereas our younger players don't have that at the moment. So you need that ceiling, you need that squad to help build and to challenge. I think it's very important for all teams, especially to be challenging with long seasons. These teams are now playing, look at them, they're in games 60 and 70 currently even playing the Club World Cup. Absolute madness. On thin squads, you were talking about no strikers, injuries. They're only getting more games per season, okay? Teams and players are only getting a lot more injuries because of the consistent amount of football they're playing. So for me, it seems like kind of an equation. You have this amount of need versus this amount of players versus this amount of running. I mean, look, at 72 season, look what happened to Pedri. We speak about Pedri as a great example for that season when he played maybe 80 games and into the Euro, and then look what happened this next season. This is the kind of detriment and player welfare we're talking about, which leads into that as well. It's a whole nother conversation, but it got me thinking about it because I was looking at the lines of each position and who's in that position. And we can have 11, but like you said, Denzel, I think that's where we go. You get 2 injuries, and all of a sudden it becomes an excuse. And that's bullshit. Like you said, for any of the top 8 clubs, it's bullshit.
Yeah. And I've seen this discourse with Thomas Partey's contract up in the air, and no matter what you think about him, is that okay? We have Zubimendi now. Do you guys realize there's 30 plus games in the season, and that's just the Premier League. That's not including the Champions League, not including the Carabao Cup, no FA Cup. It's the cups. Okay, cool. When it gets to a quarter semi-final, Zubimendi would play. All right. And then also these men train as well. And they do this little thing called live their life as well. So you're telling him basically to come in on his first season, play every game, never get a red card, never get suspended, and never get injured, or even like a little 2-week niggle because we've got rid of Partey. That was the issue. And then cool. On top of having to buy a striker, buy a left winger, you'll now have to get a goalkeeper and now also get another midfielder, not least, but as good as Partey as well. Or then you've gone down a level. So you've made that summer window even now more busy for you, instead of just paying him the extra money that he wants. Because I get it, they want to save money, but also the little more money he wants, keeping him there for that season while you have a Zubimendi to add to that, and Rice and Odegaard, a terrifying midfield. That's a contender for best midfield in the league if you keep it that way. Or you sell him and you spend another, 40 or 50, 60, getting a whole new midfielder that you don't even know if he'll know the system or if he'll adapt, just like Zubimendi will. But Zubimendi, right now, we don't know. We don't know until he plays. I'm sure he's going to be incredible, but everything's a risk until you see it, right? So you're going to take 2 new midfielders in a brand new league, in a brand new team, in a brand new system, in a season where we have to win it.
And it's interesting you said, especially being in the engine room. We often know Spanish players coming from a more Spanish league, more technical league. Sometimes, not often, sometimes struggle to adapt with the pace initially, the pace and physicality. It takes them 1 or 2 games. Zubimendi is a strong player, to be fair. So I think you're right. Look, it's interesting to see what happens. I think it has to be done early enough to allow Arteta to play with. That's where you're right. We see teams able to gel, to get on that plane, to go to preseason together, to have that familiarity with how they play. It's when we do start to see, like, Man United do this, we panic buy after our first 3 games. Shit happens. And the board unleashes money on like 80 million players on a player who scored 4 goals last season and looks like potential, in Italy kind of thing. So it's the only issue that I find that we have is, one, English players, that their value is extremely, extremely highly inflated. Second of all, when Premier League clubs come in for certain players, their value gets inflated, So it puts us in a precarious position, especially knowing how public all of our clubs, well, both our clubs, Man United and Arsenal, are in need to enforce. So the market is already on. You need some new gear, innit? Come in. The shop's open. We know you need it. We know you want it. It's not like you're just shopping around like, we went. So they know we want it. They know we need it. Our fans demand it. So it's a lot harder than at the negotiating table, which means the process is a lot drawn out. I know we want it quicker. Both of us do. And I know the team, the coaches want it as quick. They want their squads sorted out. But it now goes to that boardroom, to the money men, to both teams, to freaking dealing with Daniel Levy's of the world, and lawyers, and trying to match together now, knowing that we have the money, but knowing we want to save money, but knowing that we need the player. So it's extremely difficult at the moment. And then being so many teams being in the market at the moment, and then having these extra FIFA money being pumped into these other assholes, we're getting like nearly like $1 million a game every round, having to compete with them. Us two, we're just our players on holiday, bringing in no revenue right now, except for Arsenal women getting some money there. My team is ripping up their field, spending money. Other players right now earning money just for being in America, Football has become such a balanced game of business, of wit, of commodities, It's essentially like mining. That's how I see football. Currently, football is like mining. Everyone is searching for their minefield, for their gold field, to unearth the next diamond, right? You want to be able to unearth that diamond, to polish, to shine that diamond, to inevitably be able to put that diamond in a jewelry store, win you something, and hopefully that diamond wants to stay in your shop forever. But no, because we are in England, there's a nice little beautiful shop in Spain there that people seem to think is the best jewelry store. So as soon as your diamond becomes way too beautiful, it's going to get plucked. And the idea is it gets plucked for something that you're able to get, feel like you're not trented out of, Which leads me to my last question, and I'll leave this one also. I want to ask you this. If Saka, your number 7, okay, decides, to your point, like Harry, like Trent, fuck this, boys. I love Arsenal, but I want to try and make something, okay? Rodrigo's getting sold there. There's a little right-sided berth for me there at Real Madrid. Would you feel hard done if he next season, so he plays this season, there's murmurings come January that he's talking about, because he's got another 2 years on his contract, right? And they were like, cool, I'm thinking about I'm not going to sign a contract. I'm either going to go on a free, which I know would fuck you over, go for free, or even sell. You'd want money for Saka, obviously, 100 million player, obviously, to rebuild. Let's start with if he went for a free like Trent, because that's what Real Madrid do at the moment, right? They wait and they pluck you, they give you money, and they give a nice salary. So if he said, hey, guys, I'll give you this too, and I'll go with this because I want to win, how would you feel? Would you give him the kind of send-off that Liverpool gave Trent?
Honestly, sorry, TV bombs fell off. Honestly, I don't understand. Like I said earlier, this to us is our football club, but football is a young man's career, and it's a very unforgiving career. At the end of the day, these guys aren't getting any younger. And if there's any player that's given his literal leg for Arsenal Football Club, it's Bukayo Saka. So at the end of the day, there'll be fans who are upset because way they see it, Arsenal is their religion, it's their culture, it's their life. But I'm like, also, this man has to provide for his family. At the end of the day, also, these guys want to win, and if they feel like the board and the higher ups aren't supporting the manager and the team to get the players that can help them then win, then they have to go somewhere where they will. That's why if Saliba was, I don't think he will, but if Saliba was to leave, it would hurt. Of course it would hurt me. But as a man, I'd understand it. Like, he wants to win. And if he feels like this institution isn't serious as he is about winning and supporting and backing that team with the resources to win, at the end of the day, leaving sometimes is the only way to make them understand. That's why Van Persie, when that happened, it hurt. But I understood it. As a kid, it was hard. But now, as a 29-year-old man, I'm like, look, man, yeah, it's a football club, but it's a career, it's a business. And in the day, these guys want to win something. And if we feel like I'm sure Van Persie went to the team, to the higher ups, hey, we need this, we need this. And one thing about Arsenal is when it comes to transfers, we are never the fastest. Never.
Yeah.
We're never the go-getters. We're always reacting to stuff, it feels like. Even Mesut Ozil, some of our biggest transfers were on a deadline day or towards the end of the window. We've never day one gone out, there's the killer, boom, here's the money given to us. Never. And I wish my big club would sometimes move and act like a big club from day zero. Day zero. So if we give our all this season and there's no real investment in this team, or we get plays that we know don't push this team over the mark, where, look, the players that we're rumored with, I won't say names, there's players that we're rumored with that they're good, they're great players, but they're not going to put fear in the hearts of a Liverpool or in a Man City. Not really. It's not going to push Arsenal up that mark. And then we still don't win it. Then if I'm Bukayo Saka, I'm like, okay, cool. This vicious Groundhog Day circle I'm in, where I'm doing the same thing every year, and I'm not getting older. I'm getting more and more injuries. I lost my hamstring for 3 months last season. I'm giving my body. At some point, if they won't help me, literally, or help us, I want to go win. So it would hurt, but I wouldn't be disappointed in him. I'd be disappointed in the club for not supporting him and supporting the fans. Because at the end of the day, we want to win. At the end of the day, you can say what you want about the team, but there's certain players I know for sure in the Arsenal team that want to win. Rice is one of them. Saliba's one of them. Saka's one of them. You see in their eyes that it hurts them. You see it in their eyes. Gabriel's another one. And those certain players, if they were to leave, you know what, big man, good luck, man, in your next adventure. Thank you for everything. Because you can see they sweat and gave it all for us. So with that regard, that's how I'd feel about it.
Yeah. So, I want to thank you again for giving us some time. Before we conclude today, I know Waja wanted to finish us off on a nice little game that we have here.
Oh yeah, no, rapid fire is the game. So you want to explain the rules, E, or we should just jump right into it?
Nah, jump right in.
All right, so cool, yeah. So we're gonna ask you some rapid fire questions, Denzel. So yeah, first thing that come to mind is spit it right back at us, and I think I know what you're gonna say for the first one, but what's the next project you're working on? And actually, it's a two-part question. So let me ask that first part first.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so what's the next project you're working on?
Something with the Euros. I'll say that.
All right, cool. And with the Euros in mind, because this actually does help me with the Euros in mind, if you could get a woman to feature from any player, who would it be?
Or any professional footballer woman to feature?
Yeah, from the ladies' side.
It's kind of a cop-out, but I have two in mind, and it's a tie between the two. I can't decide which two. But it'd either be... It's actually... Okay, there's four. Forgive me, there's four. Forgive me. But it'll make sense when I say the four. If I could have any professional footballer from the women's side to feature my work, it'd be one of four. Either Alex Scott, that goes without saying. A player in the US you may know called Trinity Rodman, 2.
Yep.
And then 3, Leah Williamson, or 4, Katie McCabe.
Fantastic.
Martin Odegaard or Mesut Ozil.
Ozil.
No need to be sorry. I would say that.
He was just something else, man. He was just he wasn't human. Human. Some of the Martin Odegaard. My mother Fernandes, man. My mom is better than Bruno Fernandes, man. She's never kicked a ball. But hey.
Well, this has been quite the amazing experience. I want to thank you again, Mav, for getting on with us. How can the people find you who are going to be listening to this on Spotify or YouTube or Apple Podcasts? How can people?
Yeah, so my socials are at mavthefilmmaker, MAVTHE, then filmmaker, no spaces, no capitals, on Instagram. X is mavthefilmmaker. On TikTok, it is at ITS. It's mavthefilmmaker, and that's all I'm on right now. And I just want to say thank you to you guys for giving me the platform to speak, and more so, thank you for highlighting my work, but also I want to highlight the people who've been a part of my work. Tef, Morgan, Kian, Hybrid Gunner JVC, for as much people like the work I do, it's the people who choose to be in it and choose to be part of it. And you guys are now part of that. So thank you. If there's anything you guys ever need, please, London, let me know. I will be in Brooklyn very, very soon.
You got your family now in Brooklyn.
I gotta go to that bodega, man. I gotta see what it's all about. I'm not getting any younger. So,
We'll get you a chopped
no,
cheese. Don't
honestly.
worry about it.
Oh man, I'm ready, man. I'll have the appetite. But no, honestly, TC, all of you guys, thank you so much for blowing my heart. And please keep doing what you're doing. Like, the world needs this. Even if it's only one person but listening and 100 people listening, you're making an impact, whether you see it or not. And I hope you guys know that.
Much appreciated. Well, yeah, from us, Dem Boys Watch Footy, TC, Waj, E. We got Denzel, Math the Filmmaker. Appreciate it. Have a great one, everyone.
See you soon.
Peace.
See ya.